translated by panicked algorithms. This is one ship, remember that. The galaxy shaken awake. The survivors fled across the stars. Their broken transmissions carried terror into every council chamber, every academy, every Senate hall. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy went quiet. Debate erupted like wildfire. Some claimed it was a fabrication, a trick by rival empires to stir fear. Others swore it was proof that humanity had never died, only hidden, waiting for arrogance to reach its peak before striking. The Varen Council convened an emergency session. Senators shouted, generals roared, scholars wept. The name Terran was no longer mockery. It was a blade hanging over their heads. For if one human warship could annihilate a flotilla without effort, what would a fleet do? What if the legends of entire human armadas were true? The question spread across the stars like fire in dry fields. If myths walk among us, who can stand against them? And as silence fell again over the great chambers, one chilling truth settled in every heart. The galaxy had awakened an old predator. One warship had been enough. Enough to prove the legends true. They laughed, not the restrained chuckles of polite amusement, but the booming, self-satisfied laughter of conquerors who had forgotten fear. The Council of the Infinite Accord, 12 of the most powerful civilizations bound by treaties older than some stars, sat in their vaulted chamber of crystal and light, debating threats that did not exist. A representative of the Corran Dominion, his chitin armor glistening like black obsidian, tapped the floor with a claw. Once again, the Outer Rim patrols return with ghost signals, he said with mock gravity. And once again, the suggestion is raised, humans. That single word rippled through the chamber like smoke. Humans, repeated the voice of the Dayari consulate, their ambassadors' silver tendrils curling with sarcasm. Legends from a forgotten age, myths conjured by primitive storytellers. If such a species existed, they would have long been crushed or assimilated. They say, came another voice, this one belonging to the scarred general of the Thrill Imperium, that a single human vessel could stand against a fleet. His mandibles clicked in amusement. What nonsense! As if flesh-born primitives could craft machines greater than ours. The council roared with laughter. In their academies, tales of humanity were little more than cautionary fables, stories told to cadets about arrogance, about overestimating foes. In war colleges across the stars, the human hypothesis was shorthand for wishful paranoia, a reminder not to believe in ghost fleets or phantom enemies. Humans, the Corran delegate sneered again. They are but children's stories. To chase them is to waste resources better spent preparing for the Zarakin expansion. Let the myths rest in their tombs. The chamber agreed. Echoes of derision rattled against the crystalline walls. No one feared humans. No one believed. But somewhere in the silence between their laughter, the universe stirred, and legends, long buried, were already moving. Echoes from the rim. It began at the very edge of map space, where even the bravest explorers of the Accord traveled reluctantly. There, the stars burned cold and the dark seemed thicker, heavier, as if time itself had grown old. A survey ship of the Thrill Imperium, the Kethar's Blade, was charting a barren sector when its long-range sensors trembled awake. A signal, faint, rhythmic, unlike anything catalogued in the Accord's archives. "Report," the commander growled. "Unknown signature, Captain," came the reply. "Frequency not used by Accord civilizations. Structure suggests pre-drift era encoding." The bridge crew laughed uneasily. Pre-drift. That would mean older than their own interstellar empires, older than the Accord itself. Origin. A pause, then, bearing 114 by the Black Shoals Nebula, rough triangulation suggests it's moving, deliberately. The commander frowned. A derelict, an automated relic. No, Captain, it adjusts course, reacts to gravity wells. This is a ship. The laughter of the council seemed far away now, replaced by a silence heavy with unease. For hours they tracked the echo until the darkness itself seemed to vibrate with its steady pulse. It was not fast. It did not hide. But there was something about its motion, calm, confident, inexorable, that unnerved even seasoned veterans of the Rim. Then came the archive request. Standard procedure. Cross-reference all anomalous signals with ancient databanks. The machine searched, and the word appeared on the display, glowing like a wound. Human. The bridge fell silent, no one breathed. The forgotten word. The report was sent to the Accord within cycles. The reaction was predictable. The signal is fabricated, the Dayari ambassador said with venom. Another attempt by the Thrill to stir panic and justify expansion. Or perhaps, the Corin delegate added with a cruel smile, a malfunctioning probe mistaken for a ghost. We all know the myths, machines carrying old echoes of the so-called humans. The word itself, human, was treated with disdain. It was not even capitalized in most reports, relegated to footnotes. Yet some could not shake the unease. In the sealed archives of the Accord, records existed, too fragmented to be trusted. Stories of a species that had risen quickly, burned brightly, and vanished without a trace. No empire claimed to have destroyed them, yet none claimed to have seen them in the flesh. All that remained were scattered whispers, weapons beyond comprehension, ships that moved with impossible precision, captains whose very presence bent the tide of battle. Legends, scoffed the council, nothing more. But in darkened corridors, away from the laughter of the chamber, some whispered otherwise. What if the stories had roots in truth? What if humanity had not perished but withdrawn? And what if the silence of millennia was not death but preparation? When the stars held their breath, the next encounter was not so easily dismissed. A patrol group of the Zyrakin hegemony, a ruthless, warlike species even the Accord tread carefully around, vanished in the void. 3 destroyers and a carrier gone without distress signal. Only fragments of transmissions remained, garbled static, punctuated by a single repeating phrase. No one could translate it, but the cadence was familiar to the linguists of the old archives. A human tongue. Panic rippled through the inner circles of power. For the first time in living memory, the council chamber was not filled with laughter, but with unease. The possibility could no longer be ignored. If the humans were real, if they had returned, then every war doctrine, every balance of power in the galaxy would crumble. And so a fleet was dispatched. Not a small patrol this time, but a coalition task force of the Accord's finest ships. 20 warships, armed with the most advanced weaponry known to the galaxy, to hunt a single signal. 20 ships against a ghost, 20 ships against a myth. But myths, as they were about to learn, are not bound by the rules of ordinary war. The shadow and the void. They found it beyond the Black Shoals Nebula, gliding through the void with the calm inevitability of a predator. At first they could not believe their own eyes. The vessel was enormous, larger than a dreadnought, yet shaped unlike any ship they had ever catalogued. Its hull was dark, almost absorbing the starlight, with no visible seams or external weapons. It moved silently, effortlessly, as though the universe itself parted to allow its passage. The Accord commander, a veteran of dozens of campaigns, felt his crest tighten with primal dread. Identify. Scanners strained, peeling back layers of interference that seemed to coil around the vessel like a shroud. Finally, the image resolved. Lines of ancient design, power readings beyond classification, a nameplate etched into the hull in a forgotten script. Not forgotten, human. The translation burned across every display. UNS Valiant. The silence on the command deck was absolute. Officers stared, unable to speak, unable to breathe. For centuries they had mocked the stories, and now here it was, a legend alive. Then, as if in acknowledgement of their presence, the warship moved. Not evasively, not defensively, but with deliberate, terrifying confidence. It turned to face them. One ship against 20. And still, the stars seemed to hold their breath.